All right.
Yeah.
So your overall takeaway, you were saying.
All right. Well, this one, I enjoyed this one the most for multiple reasons. One, just how it opened up the first one, number 63. I won't get into it right now, but I felt like that was, um, just meant for me to read, And like I asked ChatGPT about it and got it to expand more. And it's like that really set it home. And then from there, once you kind of get the rhythm of what you're reading, to me, again, to use kind of like Twitter as like a metaphor for this style of writing, it's like he's got individual like tweets or thoughts that can be isolated or not. They build off of like the one prior to it, but they're like these standalone, short and sweet ideas, And it's like kind of up to like you as the viewer to unpack like what is this? What is this thing? I don't know. I kind of like it's like boom, boom, I don't know. Kind of like tweet. It's like I read old fashioned Twitter. Yeah, old fashioned Twitter.
We're reading tweets from 1880.
Which is really the title.
Reading tweets from 1880. All right. So what's the title of the chapter?
Possums and interludes. 1800's.
I think it's a possum, bro. The PH is F, right? So a poffin, a pop, then
A poppin' process.
Yeah. All right. That and interludes, apophthegms and interludes. So we've been reading these, and they're really short and sweet. Two sentences at most, maybe three. So we're gonna kind of make our way through these individually, and if something comes up and it's a tweet that caught you, tell me why, and we'll discuss that idea further. So we'll start with 63. It says, "He who is a thorough teacher takes things seriously, and even himself, only in relation to his pupils." John, you said this one stood out to you. Why?
Well, first when I read it, okay, so he who is a thorough teacher takes things seriously, and even himself, only in relation to his pupil. So I felt like, one, when I first read it, my initial thoughts were like, you put in what the student is willing to show that he is willing to take, as in like the amount of like effort and work you want to put into that individual pupil. Like how much is he looking up, ready to take on like the seriousness of what we're trying to learn, And then that just got my attention. And then like I took a picture of it and sent it into ChatGPT, and it talks about like how serious the teacher takes himself too, and how like outside of that classroom setting, I'm summarizing, that he may not even see himself as like an authoritarian on like these things, or like someone to be respected in these things. But in that relationship, he has to be serious in relation to the pupil. I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he probably encountered somebody at some point that he thought was a thorough teacher, or even maybe he thought that of himself. And to take things seriously, even to take yourself seriously, and how that relates to the pupil is a super important facet of being a good teacher. I can recall in undergraduate program, I had an advisor who took the work seriously enough, like a calculus teacher, that everything you did, he gave you points on the steps of your work rather than like the final answer, like calculus, right? So he would seriously go through your work and look at each step, and he would pay attention to your reasoning, and he would take that seriously. And because of that, I respected him so much more, because he's so thorough, that he helped develop me as a geologist into who I am currently.
Did I read some things that I asked ChatGPT to break it down, like some things that stuck out to me? Yeah, it was like, so it breaks down into three things. And it was like, taking things seriously. A good teacher invests effort, attention, and gravity in what he teaches, but the seriousness is not absolute. It is always in service of guiding the students. Even himself, the teacher's sense of self is also somewhat flexible, taking on a certain seriousness or authority only insofar as it benefits the pupil. outside of this context, the teacher might not treat himself with the same authority or solemnity. I thought this one was interesting too. The teacher's self-awareness. Nietzsche's line also implies that the teacher possesses a self-awareness or ironic distance from his own role. He's capable of stepping in and out of seriousness. He can laugh at himself or relax his authority when it no longer serves the student's progress. This runs counter to the idea of a rigid, pompous teacher who always demands reverence. And I really like that because like, I think one of the reasons why I've had a lot of success like, within my classroom, like building my program, is that I know when to take my class serious and myself serious, and I know when to, it's okay to laugh and have fun because like there's plenty of that to go around too, you know? And I'm able to be flexible and like where I stand in that moment. And like, because my students and I have that relation, when it's time to be serious, we respect that because we know that like, hey, at any moment, like sometimes there's moments when we don't have to be. And like, I'm also down for that too, you know? So I'm not a rigid, pompous guy who thinks I'm always right. And like, oftentimes I'll be like, oh, I fucked up, my bad. You know, like no real biggie. So.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, you're understanding the nuance. You don't have to be so rigid. You don't have to be ultimate flexible. You're nuanced.
Right, exactly.
It fits perfect into that thorough description and basically kind of what this book talks about. Rather than yay or nay, you're kind of like this gray zone, you know?
So to me, it's real power. And like, it broke it down to so much stuff. And I thought, wow, ChatGPT gave me like literally a whole entire page worth of stuff talking about one sentence of this guy. But
right.
It was real powerful for me. That was the first thing that started off this first chapter. It was like the nuance of teaching and being a student, you know, and like the seriousness in it that you have. I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh shit, you know?
It's so serious. Like, it's so serious that he made it the first thing he said.
Exactly. And like, you know, I'm a people still, like when I go to jiu-jitsu class, I'm like, I know coach takes it like really serious, but also sometimes it's fun to make a joke too and laugh, you know? So it's like a constant ebb and flow. Like,
hell yeah. Cool. Anything to add?
No, you guys broke that down. There was like,
all right. 64. Knowledge for its own sake. That is the last snare laid by morality. We are thereby completely entangled in morals once more. So when I think of knowledge acquisition, when I went to college, there was teachers that did geology for the love of the game. It was doing knowledge for knowledge's sake, you know, to develop knowledge, but it wasn't for any like goal other than just to progress the game for the love of the game. And he's saying that this is a snare laid by morality, so it ends up inevitably being a trap. And then because of that, we're entangled in this snare once again. So like
knowledge versus wisdom in a way.
So I asked ChatGPT as well, and it said, seeking knowledge for its own sake is a trap. We are completely entangled in morals all the time.
There's a struggle there.
Well,
Pursuit of knowledge.
I would say like that maybe so, but we needed to continue to progress because like I feel like if you're seeking for knowledge's sake, like you're like in the category of like an artist, which is like you're creating something new, you know? And we're like, that's the minority of the human population, you know? So I like the majority of the human population, they can keep track of like the morals of like the functioning of how society goes. And like the people on the frontier seeking knowledge for knowledge's sake, it's like, let them do it, you know? Even if it is a snare, like we almost need them to. We need people to like go into the maze, even though they know like they might not be able to come out, you know, because like we need to be like, it helps us progress further into the maze, you know, and like then we figure that shit out.
Yeah, that's true. We just talked about mushrooms. Like the scientists had to find out which mushrooms worked.
They weren't scientists, but they were they were keeping there walking around picking up things like.
Yeah, you could almost apply that same theory, like in a way.
Yeah.
Where we still do need people to question the innovation or the creative juices that would push us forward. But also, like, if they don't make it on the other end, hey, let's make sure we don't do that.
And not that one. And go over next.
Like, do you guys know who Brian Johnson is? He found out the best example of this. He's doing it. His intention is so he can live longer. So it's not just for knowledge's sake, but in a lot of ways it is. Like, he's spending his own resources to like learn more about the science of the human body for his own sake, to better his own self. It's just like, we'll probably end up learning a lot no matter which way it turns out for him, you know? But it is interesting, and he is doing it solely for himself, like for self gain, I guess, you know? But like, not money gain. It's like knowledge gain, you know?
It'll be a scientific study. People, if he writes a book, you know, people will be like, oh, this worked, this didn't work, that worked.
Right. Yeah.
He's his own experiment. All right. 65. The charm of knowledge would be small, were it not so much shame has to be overcome on the way to it.
Okay, boom. I thought this was, I mean, for me, when I first took it, Joe Rogan just had this guy on his podcast recently named Ian Carroll, I think. And he's kind of like an up and coming, like, conspiracy theorist, like content creator, but his conspiracy theories like are just him like laying out information that you can publicly access and being like, you draw your own conclusion. Okay, that's like his whole kind of shtick. Okay,
right.
I feel like the reason, using him as an example, like the reason why he got into this is because like it's really fun for him to like see the puzzle and then like try to figure out the puzzle. Like, it's charming to him. Okay, and then part of the stuff that he's uncovering is that like there can be tons of evil under rocks that you pick up, you know, like there's bugs under rocks sometimes. And like, you may like learn something new, but like you may learn something that you wish you wouldn't have learned, you know, you're like, wow, people can be that evil. And like, I'm also a human. That's what I got when I read that.
That's the shame part.
That's the shame part. That's the shame part, because like, I don't think it's shame as in like understanding like the nature of the universe or nothing. I think it's shame as in like, wow, my fellow man was capable of doing something like that.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, it makes me kind of think of, I think it was Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson, where the title of the chapter being The Willingness to Be the Fool.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And in order to learn new things, you have to admit that you don't know the answer.
True.
And so you kind of have to accept a form of shame in a sense where you're like, I don't know. And
I like that.
And then from there, you get to learn and gather more knowledge, because if you admit that you don't know is how you learn.
100%. I like that too. I think that's a good take on that. Next one.
65A.
All right. We are not dishonorable towards our God. He is not permitted to sin.
We are most dishonorable.
I read this. It was really interesting to me to think about, like, I guess like the nature of God, or how he's describing it as like, him, like God's not permitted to sin. Like, if he's bound by something like some divine cosmic nature law or something, or yeah, it's not, if he's so like just in everything that is good, then there are some restraints on like, yeah, like he can't sin, you know. But that's almost a paradox in him putting him in the same box as something that isn't omnipotent and super, divine and can do everything. So I don't know, really weird kind of spin on that, you know?
Yeah, it's like, what I'm thinking is he's saying we are dishonorable. Like, we as a human species are dishonorable towards a God because we do not allow him to sin.
Yeah, like we're not giving him the space.
He's not allowed to mess up at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what I got, is like, we are so dishonorable because of that.
But then, like you said, David, it's like, but also it's like, we're putting him into like, he's omnipotent, so like all powerful, so like he would never need to make a mistake, right? But like Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's 65A. Yeah.
And we hear that question a lot. As believers, you hear, why would God allow this? Why would God allow that?
Exactly.
And a lot of people have to just say they don't know. Yeah, I don't know why he would allow it to happen, but it happened.
I think it goes back to the 64, in a way. Like, how did you spark something in my mind? Like, the charm of knowledge would be small if we didn't have the ability of recognizing we don't know.
Yeah.
So, like, that kind of plays. I think that's why he puts that first before he mentioned the permittedness to, like, sin. It's like God is almost like unable to sin, but it also could be our own fabrication of what God is. Like, yeah, it's almost like pushing the boundary of, like, morality.
It's our paradigm of like what like sin is, like we're ascribing our own morality to what that means.
I think what God and the opposite is this same thing that he's dressing with beyond good and evil. As human beings, we separate things. So we can acknowledge that there's extreme good and extreme bad, which is being evil. So we see the yays and the nays. And by God being this epitome of what good is supposed to be, he can't make any mistakes. So we can't allow him to sin. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And it's dishonorable is what Nietzsche is saying, that we do that to our God,
Right.
But I mean, we do it at the same time too with heroes, right? Like people that are supposed to be heroes for people, when we see them do something bad, like we tear them down, they're done, But they have the ability to like make up for it.
Well, not just that, like past heroes too. For example, like the local community college around here was called Lord Fairfax because all this property used to be owned by a guy named Lord Fairfax. Okay. And just like during COVID, during Biden, they renamed it to Laurel Ridge because they're like, he had slaves and like, we're dishonoring him because like, we're giving him no room to say, oh, that's it. We're drawing the line. He could no longer be a part of like our history anymore. And just like, well, where's the nuance in it? It's like, well, I mean, Virginia was still colonies, like, I don't know, like the world was a different place, like he wasn't, I would say maybe a good guy, but he's necessarily a bad guy, he did leave the money to build the school. Why shouldn't it be called him, so
right. He did good.
He did something.
Yeah. All right. 66.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The tendency of a person to allow himself to be degraded, robbed, deceived, and exploited might be the diffidence of a god among men. Did you guys look up the word diffident?
I did not.
Don't need to.
Yeah. You just got locked in.
You're on the walking.
I think it means the shyness that comes from a lack of confidence, right?
Modesty or shyness resulting from a lack of self-confidence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting word.
Yeah, I don't get it. Let's move on to the next one.
So God creates this modesty or shyness.
John just scroll past the tweet. You're like, huh?
Yeah, not every tweet bang. He's got like 300 of these. So
yeah. Okay. So the belief of God in God among men allows that person to be degraded, robbed, deceived, and exploited. So a person that believes in God allows themselves to be degraded, robbed, deceived, and exploited.
I mean, I would just say maybe they can allow themselves to move on from that. But I mean, you should never allow yourself for all those things to happen. You should go down with a fight, at least, But maybe after the fact, it allows themselves to move on from that and be like, it'll be okay because God.
Right.
I wouldn't say it. You would just be like, allow yourself to get robbed, fucked, and all that he talked about. If you exploited, I'm like, don't do that. You should stand up for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. 67. Love to one only is a barbarity, for it is exercised at the expense of all others. Love to God also.
Boom. Okay. When I read this, my first thing was that when he said love to God also, I think it means like you should have a love for like the thing that we don't quite understand, to like the higher, what we call like the higher power, like our Lord, you know? It's that like truly we should have a love and curiosity for the world around us, you know? And we shouldn't put all of our like our love on like this one person in front of us or like this one thing in front of us. Like nothing else that matters. It's like truly like it is something amazing that we're all doing this somehow, you know? That's how I felt when I read it.
Well,
We nailed it.
what's the consequence of putting all, like, is he saying putting all your love into God or what we believe God to be? Is this in,
Just how they say like leave room for God. It's like don't forget that there's more to you than just the thing in front of you. There's more to you than just your family. And like your family is very important, right? It's like probably the most important thing in your life. But don't forget that like there is a world outside of that, you know? And yeah. There's something higher to reach for too, also, on top of just being like parent of the thing in front of you. Like there's something higher to aim at. That's like kind of like instinctual, I think, in all of us.
I think what he's saying is love of one thing exclusively is a bad thing. It's like you put all your money, you're all in on one thing, you know, you're gonna go bankrupt.
And early, and to say that one thing because that's another human or whatever can betray you. But like, and then what? You know?
Right.
If you at least got some of your net worth vested in God, like you'll be fine. Like, you'll never go broke. You know, like you could lose it all and still like I still got that. I still got that little bit I fucking invested in the Lord. You know, so like, and to circle back to the one before, where like to be degraded, robbed, deceived, and exploited. It's like you could lose everything if you put all your love in all the wrong things. You know. But if you had just invested a little bit of it into the Lord, you wouldn't have gone broke, and you would have been able to overcome all those bad things that happened to you and move on into the future. But if you went all in on like worldly things, whatever those worldly things are, and they all turn against you for whatever reason, then what else you have? Like, why do people kill themselves? You know,
Mental illness.
because they fucking feel like there's nothing left in the world for them, or they're not investing in like the main root, like the higher power, you know, or at least curious about it. I don't know.
or the few things that they had invested into
Just disintegrated in front of them, and then they're like, now what? Oh no, you know.
go do some crazy, pull out the AR, crap about an AR. Yeah.
All right. 68. Who's got it?
Yeah. I did that, says my memory. I could not have done that, says my pride, and remains inexorable. Eventually, the memory yields.
What do you think about that one, John?
So, well, I don't know what you guys, but like sometimes, like I'll just be like living my normal life, and a memory of something that like embarrasses me or I don't like will just like kind of like fade into my like imagination. Okay. And then like, that's kind of like the inner dialogue. It's like, I did that. I can't believe I did that. And then like my pride's like, no way, dude, and then like, eventually if you just like, no, he say like your memory yields, and like, sometimes you can like really just be like, nah, that never happened. You know,
You changed the memory altogether.
you change that like that really never happened.
Never did that.
Never did that actually.
So that's why. Well, so like that.
I mean, O.J. Simpson was like, yeah, he's like, I don't know who killed her, you know, but like, Yeah, he's like, I don't use it. Bro, OJ's like looking for the killer, you know? He's like, here,
If it was me, this is how I would have done it because that was he writes a book about it. He's like, I'm
still curious, like, who could have done such.
right. All right. I think you nailed it. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
All right,
These
tea break, me too.
Tea break.
Yeah, so that's
Break. 1900 roll.
like, oh, come on, bro. Come on.
Where'd you get him?
From Sierra Trading?
Damn, you just be staying getting the grails, bro.
No, these were brand new.
Oh, all right, all right then.
These were brand new. $70.
Retail $2.99.
Let's go.
Yeah, dip into the USA coin funds, huh?
No, dude. I mean, I have enough. I can buy a pair of pants if I want, right? You know.
That's tight. Are they the same? They're not the same as the other ones you have, right? Like different, like style or whatever.
They're slightly different, yeah.
I almost copped some of the ones that you have, but they're a little too small at REI, and I was really heartbroken because I would have sent it.
Damn. These ones are like the perfect fit. Other ones are like a size too big, but I still rock them.
Let me get his in. Frank me up, bro.
Dude, I've been bulking for real. Just like a couple weeks ago, after I got sick, I was weighing 159, 160, and today I weighed 170. It's all the placebo steroids I've been doing.
what do they call them there?
These are called creatine monohydrate HMB gummies.
Damn, bro, those sound like androgen receptors.
Oh no, it's got a picture of a bicep, so it makes you bigger.
They got you, bro.
They didn't give me, boy. I got myself, dog. And here,
They trained the monkey. The monk.
dude. So I had to like. It's really stupid, real quick, but like I had the every Wednesday. It's called advisory. I had to go like watch these freshman kids because I had to watch someone else's class, and I had to teach them about AI. And literally, I was like, "Use like we're the monkey pulling the levers." I was like, "This shit's so like." It is really funny. Like they want me to go teach a class for kids I don't know on like a thing that like they're like, here, read this thing. And I'm like, we're not going to read the PowerPoint. I was like, that's just stupid. I was like, I want to do it off the hit. I was like, what's AI, you know? But I was like, we're the monkey pulling the levers still. Don't forget that.
Yeah, we're studying high pieces right there. That's life lessons. Yeah, don't forget.
We're monkeys pulling the lever.
No, I said it was not actually AI. It's actually a fucking large language model, but we call it AI because we don't have a fucking good word for it. Well, what's a large language model? I can fucking, but we are still the monkeys making the fucking thing do the thing for us. You know, we still need that.
Yeah. There's monkeys down there adding new levers to the system, but we're all monkeys.
Literally, they are adding new levers. But like, we haven't thought that we need it yet, but when they make it, we're like, oh my God,
I'm the new lever. Here's us the designing new ones.
I love this new one.
All right, see now. This one's jackpot every time. All right, 70.
No, didn't we do 69? Or we're supposed to do 69?
Oh, yeah, correct.
All right. One has regarded life carelessly if one has failed to see the hand that kills with leniency. Kills with leniency.
So leniency is the fact or quality of being more merciful or tolerant than expected.
So you're aiming, wandering around life carelessly if you're not seeing that healing, there's such a thing as tolerance for healing or sin.
Can I take a stab at it?
Go for it.
I think the important part is like if one has failed to see the hand that kills with leniency. It reminds me of when Jordan Peterson talks about like who's more dangerous, a strong man or a weak man. It's well, you haven't seen what a weak man's capable of doing. That's kind of what I actually think of. It's like if you aren't strong enough to draw a line, and like if you're too lenient, there's way more danger in that hand. So like if you regard life carelessly, you have not seen what like a careless attitude towards like maybe let's say principles can do.
I can see that. One.
Kills with leniency is the one that kind of throws her off.
I think of somebody who has extreme potential, right? There's a person that's born in life that has extreme potential, and they come to life like they approach they execute life with leniency. And because they've been lenient, like, I could do that at another time, or not take some lesson that they learned quite seriously, they don't quite reach their potential. And so they've killed with leniency. They've killed their potential. They've killed their progression. All because
I like that.
With lenient, like a lenient approach. Like, I'd say you're born 7'2", you know what I mean? And you're like, I just kind of want to be like a regular guy who works at like a grocery store, like just a regular person. And you're like, bro, but you have the potential to be that guy. You have the potential to be in the NBA. Like you could really actually do this. But you gotta.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I see there.
Sure, I like that. I think that's a good take on that.
All right, 70. If a man has character, he has also his typical experience, which always recurs. Routine. The power of a routine is what I think he's talking about here.
I concur.
Indeed.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's what I got there. The power of routine. Anything to add? I know we can go off on it, but do we want to open the door?
Yeah.
I think we talk about it in a lot of videos. Get your routine right, guys. Daily. All right, 71. The sage as astronomer, so long as thou feelest the stars as an above thee, thou lackest the eye of the discerning one.
Yep, I didn't get it.
So I got true wisdom requires seeing beyond conventional perspectives.
Did you just repeat this, or is this from the head?
This is from ChatGPT.
One.
It is important to adopt a more discerning view. So if the sage is an astronomer, so let's say the sage is a person that has a ton of knowledge, they know a bunch of different things. If they're seen as an astronomer, a rare few of people that have been to space, this is how it will feel as long as you feel that the stars are above thee. So if this seems like it's unachievable to you, then you lack the eye of a discerning one. So you're not seeing the fact that you can actually do that. You're capable.
Got it. You guys see through the matrix.
Yeah, look through the ones and zeros and find the code. All right. 72.
It is not the strength, but the duration of great sentiments that makes great men.
I like this one a lot.
Me too, yeah. So simple, but it does so much.
How many characters? No, there's about 8 men and like fucking 50 characters.
Define sentiments for me, just so I'm certain.
So when you have something because of sentimental value, it's because it holds an emotional value to you.
Okay.
So,
So give me your plus.
the strength of the emotion but the duration of deep emotions that makes great men.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, like, can you guys think of any examples?
Purpose.
No, great men
Uh,
like Fritz.
Jordan Peterson.
What are his great sentiments?
I don't know. Well, I guess like the thing that came to mind was when he was getting like persecuted for like the whole like not using like pronouns thing. And I would say, I mean, I don't know if you define him as great, but like what the impact he's had on everybody or kind of sticking to his guns and like not folding was a great impact, you know? And I think he's carrying that with him.
Okay. Well, let me give two examples, two different ways. First way, similar to what David's saying, I would say like Alex Jones and his commitment to like trying to be what a real journalist is, even though if he's wrong sometimes. I feel like his sentiment or his emotion is that he really does love his country and he's trying to do a service for his fellow countrymen, you know, which is bring you accurate news about what's going on, like the truth. And he's been canceled every which way for decades and he's still doing the same service, I think. Because I think there's like an emotional driver behind it, like responsibility behind it. That because like why else would we do it? You know, another version of this too is like when it comes to love and like love with a partner, like someone can be like a very like let's like passionate like person that's in your life for a very short time, you know, but like you know like my parents like my parents have been married for longer than I've been alive. So I'm 28, so maybe like 30 years. So like that's a testament of like being able to hold that sentiment for each other and the family that they built and keeping it together, you know? And like maybe that like that's a value in itself, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I think you guys nailed it. Both of you guys named examples that I think fit that pretty well. And you know, these people, so it's the duration is what he's saying. It's not how hard the emotion hits you, it's how long you deal with it.
Yeah, it's like imagine like you have like a lover that's like very passionate, like a very passionate night or weekend or week with someone, you know, like a summer fling. And like, but it only lasts because you can't keep that up for that long, you know?
Right.
But like the person who's like down to stick it with you day in and day out, like a slow burn, like that's what gives real value. I think what he's saying, you know, he is the strength.
Yep. All right. 73. He who attains his ideal precisely thereby surpasses it.
Agree. Check. Like.
Agree. Check. Like. Repeat.
Retweet.
Yeah. I mean, that's you become the person that can attain his ideal, and because of that, you become a person that can surpass it.
Surpass your limits.
All right. 73A.
Many a peacock. Many a peacock hides his tail from every eye and calls it his pride.
Want to just say 65 and 73 both have the A in front. Do you guys know why?
No.
Because it's a continuation of the one, I think, like previous to it, you know? It's like on the same kind of train of thought.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 73 and 73A are kind of connected.
Why do you say that?
No, I mean, I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure there's something there, you know what I mean? Like, we just described 65 and 65A. I can't remember the exact reason why, but Devin said that those were similar, and
I mean, no, I don't see a clear thing. That's why I asked the question. But okay. Yeah.
All right. So why does a peacock display its tail?
I mean, typically, or to like scare off predators.
Okay. So let's take both of those as true. If the person attains their ideal, they become the person that's capable of surpassing it, right? Now you have your tail has like it becomes a little bit more intimidating or becomes more attractive because you have a more colorful tail. because you become this person that's capable of surpassing their limit.
Mm.
And people that do that tend to hide that tail, and then they call that pride.
Well, just to take 73 alone, in the context of the peacock, he goes, many a peacock hides his tail from every eye and calls it his pride. Well, I mean, if you just read that alone, it's like he's saying sometimes the peacock hides his tails from some people's eyes, yet the peacock calls the tail his pride, because like peacocks are known for having like one of the most beautiful like arrangement of feathers, you know, and like they're considered like exotic pets to have for like in Virginia. There's actually like wild peacocks that like roam around because people in like the 70s and 60s bought them, and they just can live in Virginia naturally now. Like one of my friends had like 2 peacocks living by their house, and 2 of them were albino. Well, there's actually more than 2, but there's 2 albino ones. So they're like, how can you call it your pride if you're going to hide it from some people? If you combine the 2, then I think it's a different conversation about exactly what we're talking about. But if it's just the one,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a different thought that I'm trying to unpack.
Do you think it's a good thing to do that?
Well, in the general sense, I mean, yeah, like you shouldn't spend 24 hours a day flexing like all the things for everyone to see all the time. You know, it'd be good to be humble, you know, and then like maybe only show it when you absolutely need to, which would be like in the danger scenario, right? Like life threatening or whatever, when you absolutely need to use it, or when it's the one set of eyes you really want to show your everything to.
Or when you achieve your ideal, when you attain it, right? Like if you attain let's just take the peacock, you attain the feathers you're looking for. Maybe it is like you're not trying to show off your pride, but you worked to acknowledge the effort of obtaining those feathers. So that's how I would correlate the 2: is obtaining your ideal because you surpass it, but the peacock obtains that ideal look because he was humble enough to kind of do the work or the effort put forward in the needs in regards to get to that point. And not every eye gets to see it along the journey, right? You get maybe to see it once the peacock understands like this might be a time to kind of show others that might need to see my journey that might be in the path that I was once on.
Maybe he's coming from the angle too of like show your feathers and be open and vulnerable to having the discussion about it.
See, that's how I first took it, Jay. I was like, because he's like, how could you call this your pride if you're not open for everyone to judge you?
Right.
That was the first way I took it. But then like if we're taking about it in like these different contexts, I think it can mean something else, you know? That's why like I wanted to clarify, like, is it 73A is obviously a continuation, yeah, because it's 73A. Yeah.
Or maybe this might not apply. Could pride also be taken as ego, or no? Could pride be an actual good thing context?
Taking pride in something is different than being prideful.
But I mean, people say like my son is my pride, or like your kids are your pride, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like it's something that you like put in this place in your mind where it's like, that's the best thing. My pride. This is my pride. Right. And some people want to conceal that away. Because then it becomes questioned and tarnished.
I think it's questioned and tarnished if there's no sequence of like events that led to something developing the pride.
I mean, you could put all the work into developing your kid. They're still gonna make stupid decisions, and it's gonna tarnish.
But you could still take pride in that because of those stupid decisions.
Yeah, you could.
But I don't want to. It's like we just can go on. But yeah.
All right, 74. A man of genius is unbearable unless he possesses at least 2 things besides: gratitude and purity. this is good, right? This is so good because there are people that are so smart in the world, you know what I mean? And they have so much to share, but they can be unbearable. Like you have to be, there's things that come with it. What he's saying is gratitude and purity.
This is the sides.
Yeah, you have to have these two things.
Besides.
Yeah, you have to have these two things.
So he means including.
If you're a genius, you need more. Besides being a genius, you have to have these two things: gratitude and purity. And so, like, when it makes me think of that, it's like being grateful that you have this thing, right? And being pure and genuine and sincere in the way you conduct yourself is kind of what I got there.
Hondo P. I agree. Concur.
All right, 75. The degree and nature of a man's sensuality extends to the highest altitudes of his spirit.
So pretty much I got you're free if your level of freakiness is correspondent to how free of a thinker you are.
They're getting shit on.
Not shackled by anything in their mind yet.
But they're free spirits.
Some people do that.
Oh man, that's crazy. The level of your freakiness is directly correlated with your free spiritness. For sure. I mean, it has to be there.
And I mean, like, who's to say that, like, a total free spirit is the pinnacle of what you're going for? Yeah. Like, you need to have discipline. So, like, a total free spirit that is just, like, going at the woes maybe isn't what you're aiming for. But he's saying, like, the degree of the nature of man's, like, sex drive seems to be corresponded with, like, where he grounds himself spiritually. Just putting something out there. Like, people who, like, don't believe in God and stuff and feel like nothing matters, they seem to be, like, kind of whores with their chicks, you know? I could name a couple of chicks I know on Instagram that, like, are very anti-God and very pro, like, sex-related stuff, if that makes sense. Here's what I got. Wait, continue. People that are, like, maybe into, like, pedophilia and shit like that and actually execute on, like, what they do, like, their drives, like, their spirit, like, it's not grounded in principles with your fellow human, you know? They let that shit drift off into an eviler space, you know? That's the only way that you would, like, do something like that, you know?
Yeah. I think
Right.
have you guys read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill? You know how he talks about the transmutation of sexual desire?
Mm-mm.
So he's saying if you take sexual desire and put that energy into a different lane, you can become successful. It's Think and Grow Rich. He analyzes like the top 25 men at the time. And what he found is that the richest and most successful men back in the time, even today, take their sexual desire, their sensuality, and they take that energy and put it into developing something to become successful. And I think what he's saying here is the degree of that sensuality extends to the highest altitudes of his spirit. So the degree to how much you can transmute that into what you want, and you'll see a reflection of that. It's kind of what I got from it.
Possibly. I just want to say I'm making a pretty good argument about the freak. The freak and corresponded to your spirit, I want to say.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. 76. Go ahead.
Under peaceful conditions, the militant man attacks himself.
He's like, I got nothing to do. Guess I got to fight my own demons.
Start a war. When I read this, I thought of like the complacency factor that we've created for ourselves. Like just thinking of like our own like country or nation. Like we do have a lot of things that we're blessed with, and some people take it for granted. Some people don't. Some people recognize like it is. But I think not just like a physical attack, but it could be like you don't have anything to harness your purpose in. So you might lean into more like lustful things over a longer duration of time, or you may lean into more addictive things that may not be that might cause more harm than good for you, because you don't recognize the time peaceful now. But you have to be able to just be aware that when it's peaceful, you should still be almost just continuing to, right? Because times are good now, right? When times are bad is when things kind of go like, oh, I need to move faster now. In a way, I don't know.
The militant man is somebody who's always in combat.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? If you're always fighting external combat or finding external combat things to do, you'll be preoccupied. There's always a war to fight in external world. There's the Palestine thing, there's the Ukraine thing, there's the gay rights thing. There's a whole bunch of different things you can get into, right? There's MAGA, there's all that stuff that you can jump into. But if there is no external conflict, the militant man turns inward.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, you literally have to start fighting your own demons. You know, like, and I think that's like what a lot of, like, you could say that is what PTSD is like those men, they said, like, while they were there, they oftentimes say, like, they liked being there. They liked being there with their fellow brethren there. And then things got hard when they were no longer an active duty soldier. And then the day-to-day being a military man's over, and they had to go back to normal civilian life. That's when they're like, oh my God, I fucking killed people. We did crazy stuff. And
right.
He's stuck with, like, all the stuff he's put off because, like, he was able to put them off because, like, there was something bigger at play, you know?
Yeah. All right, 77.
Okay. With his principles, a man seeks either to dominate or justify or honor or reproach or conceal his habits. Two men with the same principles probably seek fundamentally different ends therewith. And
That's like a stab.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So like the principles that we have, or maybe two men in it as an example, have this like toolbox of principles that they use to attack life with or to conduct themselves, right? But like they're two different individual people that will use those tools differently in accordance with like their own maybe things that they're trying to work out for themselves, you know? Like, I don't know, like physical, like going to the gym or like staying disciplined or something like that, you know? Like how they use the tools is different rather than, but they are the same principles.
More like why they use the tool is different, but they're still using like a lot of the same principles.
Even if they have the same tools, they can achieve a different result.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That 100% for sure. I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, if you're like in any sort of setting, like I see it all the time in jiu-jitsu, you know?
Right. It just depends on what you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And like back to the seriousness, like, and how serious, are you taking those principles?
All right. 78.
A soul, he who despises himself nevertheless esteems himself thereby as a despiser.
Okay. When I got this, I thought it was like, okay, someone who hates himself gives himself credit because he's like, well, that was a good call. Like, you should, you know, like rightfully so, I thought about it like, oftentimes I say to myself, like, you are so fucking stupid, or like, you're so fucking retarded, or whatever, you know? And then I'm like, well, rightfully said, I did do something stupid, right? But that doesn't mean, and then I'm like, I zoom out, I go, well, that doesn't mean like the whole of John Croston is stupid, or that like I should be ashamed of everything about myself. And like good on myself for being able to acknowledge that like that was an imperfect version of you right up there, you know? So good on you for being able to recognize that you should hate that version of yourself that you recognized. That's what I thought when I read it.
Yeah, there's people, we all know a contrarian, like somebody who doesn't like anything that everybody else likes. Like, oh, that Kendrick song was trash. But those people, like, sometimes they get a sense of pride of that. Like, at least I'm a critic, like there's still some sort of ego that they get from like, being a hipster,
Mm-hmm.
So like, it basically is highlighting there's complexity when it comes to the human's ego,
Mm.
like even if they don't like anything, they still can like the fact that they're a critic of not liking anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 79. A soul which knows that it is loved, but does not love itself, betrays its sediment. Its dregs come up.
Dregs are like the remaining little
Yeah.
little pieces of material that
The bottom of the michelada.
the
Dregs.
the not good part.
Yeah.
The sediment.
So the person that knows it's loved, like I'm sure we all feel with our families, that person doesn't love themselves. It betrays its sediment. So then the dregs come up. So there's insecurities.
Is it love itself or love?
Just love in general, like loving, like doesn't practice love. I feel like if you know you're loved but you're not practicing love, then the worst parts of you or the negative parts of you come out of it.
I took it as loving yourself.
I took it as loving yourself too. And I took it as in like, if you know that, and I was looking at it like in the romantic sense, but I like how Jay was talking about just family in general. But like, if you know that someone loves you and cares about you, but yet you don't love yourself enough to like, let's say like make the right decisions for yourself, then you're betraying more than just yourself. You're betraying the other person too, because like you're betraying all the foundation of like when he says sediment, I thought like your foundation of like what made you become the person that the other person was willing to love. And like you're throwing all that away. Because unfinished idea really in my head.
I saw dregs as like insecurities or like unresolved issues. The drag is good. Like if you don't love yourself, but you're loved by all these other people, you betray your foundation, like you're saying, and you start to bring up insecurities and bring up unresolved issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. 80.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A thing that is explained ceases to concern us. What did the God mean who gave the advice, know thyself? Did it perhaps imply cease to be concerned about thyself, become objective? The Socrates and the scientific man?
Know thyself.
Cool.
I feel like I'm getting a hint at what he's trying to touch on. I didn't ask the robot about it or anything, but I feel like I don't quite understand the specifics of exactly what he's trying to say. Like I feel like I get a vibe of it.
I think that he's almost just begging the question. Like he's like, perhaps, almost in a way, like he's not really saying anything much here. He's almost just asking the reader to just ask.
Well, okay. So he's saying like, did it perhaps imply cease to be concerned about thyself, become objective, and Socrates and the scientific man. So what's Socrates? Isn't he the one who invented first principles thinking?
I don't know. I know he's a Greek philosopher.
I'm pretty sure he invented first principles thinking, which is to be objective. Look it up.
J-Mo.
The Socratic method, the Socratic scientific method. That's what he's known for.
That's It means, and that's just asking questions.
I know, but doesn't first principles thinking, isn't it derived by the Socratic method?
What is the Socratic method? A way of exchanging ideas by asking and answering questions, a form of argumentative dialogue that starts with common beliefs and examines them.
Right. So that's first principles thinking. That's like when you're looking at something to ask the question and to be objective about the information you're going, and to like when you're asking a question to try to take the bias out of the science and just ask the question based off of just the objective information at hand without the bias, without biasing. So the transition, he's like, what did God mean who gave the advice, know thyself, which is subjective? Did it perhaps imply cease to be concerned about thyself? So don't worry about the subjectivity of your internal conflicts. Become objective. And Socrates and the scientific man, which is like, again, the Socratic method, first principle thinking, which is like, how can we be objective about all the problems that surround us?
Damn.
It's pretty much giving props to Socrates.
I don't necessarily know if he is giving props to Socrates. I think he's like being like, did we forget about the problem of know thyself and go all in on objectivity? Like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah, no, we did not. If we knew thyself, a lot of the social issues we have today is because people don't know themselves.
Yeah, so it's almost like we forgot about the puzzle that God left us, which is to know thyself. And we went all in on objectivity to know everything else around us.
Mm-hmm. I think 81 plays in pretty well with it too.
Okay.
So 81 says, it is terrible to die of thirst at sea. Is it necessary that you should so salt your truth that it will no longer quench thirst? So like Socrates is to ask questions, right? Socrates is to ask questions. And if you don't know yourself, you just continue to ask yourself questions. You're slowly adding salt to your water to where it's no longer quenching your thirst. You're diluting it. You're polluting it. Excuse me. You're polluting it. And so now your truth is no longer good to you because you don't know yourself.
Let's see the position.
All right. I took that Luke. I took 81 a little bit different. I took 81 a little bit differently. I mean, I feel like the salts your truth so that it no longer quenches your thirst. I took it as in like how just to use as an example, just a few years ago, people in science who are professionals in like healthcare and science and like even in like biology, they were like, no, women can actually be men. Like they salted their truth. And
Right.
And so like, what is truth to you now? Like, you'll no longer really be able to like quench your thirst of science effectively anymore, because like now you've altered like what is true in like any sort of like experimental thing. Like if you let your scales of truth be shifted or altered that much with that, then like it's got repercussions in like what you regard as truth. So that's the way I took it.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, I know it's a lie, but if I just put the salt on it, it'll go down and I'll hardly notice. And that's what scientists were doing. Is that they were like, it's for the greater good. I wouldn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Women can be boys can be girls, because like it's more accepting if I just go ahead and say that and tell you that I believe it, and I'll just cover it up because like, I'm covering it up with like my virtue of this lie that I'm telling myself, you know, and I'll make it go down easier for you and myself. But like all it did was distort the truth for you, and like now like you no longer can distinguish truth from falseness effectively.
Yeah, your water's so salty now.
Yeah, it's so salty now. Yeah. You totally lost like what it even tastes like to have clear, fresh, awesome fucking spring water.
Right.
Straight from Guitar Lake.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. 82. Sympathy for all would be harshness and tyranny for thee, my good neighbor. Iekwe. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
COVID. I'm a perfect example. You know, you're going to kill my grandma. You have to stay inside and not go to the gym and not be allowed to go to work because I have sympathy for someone that's your neighbor. You know, it's like, go fuck yourself.
Right. Exactly. All right. 83. Instinct. When the house is on fire, one forgets even the dinner. Yes, but one recovers it from among the ashes.
Yeah, I like this. It made me think of like, okay, yeah, like when shit gets hot and like you have to act, some of the minutia of life, all your priorities get consolidated very fast, and you address what you need, you know, on a priority list, like a hierarchy list. But once the trouble has passed, you can then look at the ashes and like and identify what still remains. And like if it still remains, then you have no problem being like, oh, I'm so happy that this survived. You know?
Yeah. I think it too.
Yeah, it's highlighting that like even once everything's been burned down, humans have the instinct and the perseverance to recover what they can from the ashes and move forward.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And it's like it's natural to be able to like very quickly consolidate like your priorities and be like, these are really the only things that matter to me. You know?
Right.
And like if I can save those things, then that's fine.
All right. How you guys feeling? You want to continue or you want to call it there?
I'm Sean.
It's been the same length of our normal episodes right there.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay.
Read another 20 or what?
Yeah, we'll read another 20 next week. Can I ask you guys, what was your favorite one?
Well, you know mine, so
Yeah, yours is the first one, 63.
I'd say mine's 72.
72.
Yeah.
Enduring emotions, deep emotions over time. That's a good one. I think mine was 70. The importance of a routine and how it creates the man, right?
oh, true. I like that one.
Your routine, we say it here every week. Who you are now equals who you are tomorrow. So the importance of having a good routine. Yeah. The man without a good routine is a beat down.
It's like he's like a person who's able to have character as a person who knows how to have a routine, you know, like the foundational. It's like I'm able to have character because I have such a strong foundation.
Right. It just speaks to discipline. So that's one for me.
Agreed.
I like the, I think it was 67. Love to one only is a barbarity, for it is exercised at the expense of all others. Love to God also. Just like not putting all of, or failing to see the big picture of what it means to like figure things out, you know, in the world right now, and like spread love. Like spread that fuck. It's like, yeah.
Spread the fucking love.
Spread fucking love.
All right. That wraps up our episode for today. Drop a comment down below. What was your favorite aphorism? We'd love to discuss it with you. Aphonym.
Apophymery.
Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. That was another episode of Paradyme Podcast. Hit the like button down below. Subscribe, comment, follow us on our social media platforms. All the information you need will be down in the description box below. And have a good day. And always remember, who you are now equals who you'll be tomorrow.